Who was the same? Got it.
Still
Can
no.
you find the new one?
Any luck? Any luck? Got it? That's done. Yay! I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is 6:34, and we believe we have audio. Yay. Thank you all for braving the cold. Those of you at home, good for you. First, we would like to pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to approve the minutes for the January 7th select board meeting and the January 10th special selectmen's meeting. All right, all in favor? Excellent. And I would next like to approve warrant 16 and payroll warrant for January 8th and January 15th. All in favor?
Show the microphones are near you.
Is this?
Show those microphones are near you.
They actually were better. They were right
Couldn't
here.
hear last meeting.
But I think I had
They
paper
were
on.
in front of us. They were right here.
Okay, so-
Can someone leave the building and check? Just kidding, it's cold out.
I really like them.
No, I don't want to. That'd be terrible.
Is that us?
I was gonna say, that's what I was.
Trying to keep warm. All right, do we have an RSU 10 report? But they did at the meeting last week's report, right? Over and over.
Right.
All right, any road commissioner report? Okay, road committee meets next week. Code enforcement, nothing new, we already got that in the month. Anything on the ACO besides the goat has been caught? Yay!
She has been going around inspecting, kennels. I think she has one more to do before the February 1st.
Gotcha. That's good, I think she's a little bit ahead of the game, that's good. All right, planning board, and they don't meet till the 2nd of February. All right. Ordinance committee.
Nothing new, we met 2 weeks ago, I guess.
Okay. Fire board report, besides it's cold out there. Okay. Your next treasurer's report.
There's the bank reconciliation. So I went to Northeast Bank last meeting, I said I was gonna put
Move those
the
things
ministerial, I guess, to the bank, and I started thinking, I can't just put it in town account without town meeting's approval, so that's gonna wait till June, nothing. I'll put an article on there and get some information about it.
And you'll still be overseeing it here under the town, you'll still administer that.
There's, there's a 3 of us that oversee it, but all we do is take the interest out every year. This year it was like 50 cents. And split it between the church and the school, which is the town.
Okay,
That's how we do.
sounds like a great spot for it to be under the town then. Yep. Okay. And
I'm sending out foreclosure notices on the 27th, which I think is Monday. I'm getting them ready now.
how many?
We have 9 right now.
What did you just say? 9.
2022 tax liens, they foreclosed March something, I'm gonna send out 45 days foreclosures. But
The ministerial and school fund, are those are the two. Is that the other, what you're just talking about, those two other funds?
2 other funds.
You just mentioned the existing interest in.
Yeah, the ministerial and school
Right.
trust, the interest, $1,000 stays in the CD, the interest is taken out at renewal every year. The split between the church and the school.
Do you see a lot of folks under bank reconciliation, do you see a lot of folks from all the towns still coming in on Saturdays and, because we like to let that open? No?
Some there, a couple, I don't think they advertise it.
They do.
Some there's open, yeah.
On Saturday morning?
But I don't think Buckfield's advertising it. I haven't seen many at all.
Okay, Cemetery Committee report. Ken, you don't have anything to share? Ken, is there anything for cemetery you want to share?
No, nothing new.
Solid waste? When do you have a meeting? Tomorrow night, there you go. All right, and rec committee, I do know that, Dina, with the help of some volunteers, was able to get all the buoys and everything back up here. They're stored in the garage, those are the ones we just funded last year, so all good for that. All right, calendar reminder, solid waste does meet tomorrow at 6:30. Road committee meets on the 28th, and planning board is on February 3rd, at 7 o'clock. All right. Unfinished business, number 1 on the list is auditor and the fund balance policy. Thank you so much for coming.
Good evening.
Kathy,
Do I have to go all the way over there? Am I good here? Be easier.
we want them to hear you.
No problem. I know. It's really loud.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kathy Markovich. I'm here from your audit firm, RHR Smith & Company. Thanks for making time for me. Okay, you mentioned before, I'm not the person who was the lead on your audit. That's Jen Pizzano. She wasn't able to be here tonight, but I did work closely with her on the audit team throughout your audit process, and I've been working with Leanne to work on the financial statements to get them finalized as well. A lot of times, because I understand how fun these things can be for everybody, I usually start by asking if you had any questions, because it's a lot easier for me to field questions than to tell you a bunch of gobbledygook that you don't want to hear. So I didn't know if you had any for me at all. It's okay if you didn't. I just want to make sure.
In regards to the fund balance policy?
Or the financial statements. We can start with those first if you've had a chance to look at those, or anything about the audit. Okay,
Barely a few minutes.
no problem. Okay. So that's not a problem, right?
We'll be calling you.
It's not a problem. Leah knows where to find us. So, okay. So as far as the fund balance policy, I reviewed the one that had been forwarded to us by Leanne. I have a lot of questions because I've been in municipal government before this current job for a while. So when you're putting together a fund balance policy, I usually like to know a little bit more. And by the way, I want to state that I'm not here to tell you what to do. I understand you guys wanted to kind of pick our brains a little bit. So I'm just advisory capacity because you guys have all the power to do what you want to do. I can tell you things that I've seen and things that make sense to me based on the circumstances that you tell me, but I'm not telling you what to do. My boss will be very happy that I said that. So, yes, it's right on the record. So what is it that you were hoping to accomplish with a fund balance policy? Did you have an idea in mind?
So I think we've had a couple of folks that are in county make a mention that maybe we had too much in there.
Okay.
I know in the past we had barely nothing in there.
Mhm.
So it's a nice little security balance, but I think we're kind of looking at what currently other towns are doing that they're successful with, and we're making some good interest.
Mhm.
We have a good fund balance manager, which was Leanne's great recommendation, so I'm not sure what we currently have, I can go look that up.
Oh,
But-
I can tell you what it was for June 30th, 2024. Your entire fund balance for the general fund alone was $1,665,339, of which $1,518,539 was considered to be unassigned, not currently specifically tagged for any purpose that we're aware of. That's on page 16 when you're looking at your financial statements, in case you care.
What do you see other towns that are our size
Mhm.
have has that fund balance back up?
The funny part is, from what we've seen, is that there's different comfort levels for a lot of different types of taxpayers. So I can't say that everybody's the same. But as far as the use for a fund balance policy, a lot of it has to do with cash flow. You know, many municipalities don't like to borrow tax anticipation notes. They want to make sure they have enough cash in the bank to meet their needs throughout the year. That weighs heavily into the discussion of how much you want to keep in your unassigned fund balance policy. So knowing about the ebbs and flows, tax due dates, when larger bills are going out the door, different projects you have coming up, that can matter. But recommended wise, we've been saying somewhere between 3 and 4 months of your regularly operating budget, what you would normally see going out the door, makes sense to keep from a cash flow perspective in your unassigned fund balance policy. A lot of people target that. So I'm going to say it as an accountant, you know, having a fund balance policy is not the same as having cash in the bank. Those two things aren't synonymous, even though they can be pretty close. So understanding where you are at the end of the year and where you're going to be maybe a month from now, or when taxes come in and you know what the bills have to go out the door. A lot of people take a few years of look back through their cash flows to try to prepare for that conversation. And then looking at their budget process, understanding, you know, if you have I'm not saying you do, if you have a 10% budget increase coming, that would affect things all the way across the board. Understanding how everything flows together helps you to write a fund balance policy that's generic but allows you to grow in the future, so that you don't have to constantly revise the policy because it got too strict. And I know that MMA has quite a few, or at least they used to, in their repository, quite a few fund balance policies that other municipalities have submitted to them that you can peruse if you wanted to see those, as well as the one that you have currently going. Just depended on where you wanted to start and what your goals were for the fund balance policy. Some people have really specific ones, like, we want to make sure we don't borrow money, or we just want to make sure we're not taking, you know, we're using enough to supplement the budget every year, if that's what you wanted to do, even though as a long-term practice that can die out quickly. You know, there's a lot of different changes that can happen on an annual basis, for instance, when you're budgeting too, that allow you to prepare through the commitment process, things like overlay, other complications. Look, depending on how you budget, how far back you look, if you estimate when you're budgeting different things, there's lots of different processes and procedures that can all flow together to lead into a fund balance policy that can be complicated or simple, depending on what you need. That's a lot of information, so sorry. I'm going to nerd out on you because I love this stuff. Yep. Yep.
So, do you know of any towns that have similar financial money coming in and out that our fund balance is similar to, or that we have way more money in there, or how do we?
Yes, I'm trying to think of ones that are specific. I would say that you're similar to a lot of other municipalities I've seen that have fund balance policies for the same reason that you're talking about, which I'm assuming means that you want to make sure you're holding on to the right amount and making sure that your taxpayers you're doing your due diligence by the taxpayers every year on an annual basis. I see similar levels of fund balance. And once again, it depends on how your taxpayers feel about that. The fluctuations that you don't want to have happen on an annual basis in your budget, if you were to utilize too much of your fund balance and find out next year that, a particular revenue stream that you counted on or unanticipated expenses came up that can happen, those are usually where people don't want to see it. You want to make sure it's an even keel mill rate going across the board so you don't jump up and down. So if that's what you're headed for as well, the fund balance policy that you have is a good place to start. The one that you have drafted, right? It's not approved. The one you have drafted is a good place to start, keeping it simple. So a lot of places calculate based on a percentage going into a budget season. And some of them even go back, 1 year to give themselves a little breathing room so that you can compensate if something happens unexpected, God forbid, like more flooding that happened a couple years ago. Was it really only a couple years ago? Might've been last year. Things like that you can't anticipate, that you need cash flow for, that you wouldn't have thought that was coming. Nobody thought that was coming. So things like that. I'd say you're in a good place to definitely be considering what it is that you're considering. A fund balance policy is always a good idea. Can't tell you what to do though.
But it can determine how.
Do you have a question?
I do. Hi, I was doing that as well. Yes, I have a question. You mentioned other complications. And when you used the word other complications, I wanted to know, alike, such as, for instance, what?
Well, now I can't remember specifically when I said it, so hold on a second.
It was early on. It was early on, and you mentioned why a municipality might want to have a fund balance, and one of the reasons was to use as part of the budget to offset taxes.
Yes.
But offset appropriations. But then you said something about other complications. So I guess I'm wondering what you mean by other complications.
Oh, it was I was thinking more of unexpected complications that arise in your community that may be specific to you, or maybe not a complication is not the best word. Maybe a project. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of municipalities. Correct. There were a lot of municipalities that didn't quite have cash available to be able to meet those needs while they were still trying to, seek other funding sources like FEMA, or even going to the bank to getting funds. We're on camera. Yeah. No, there has been some good response from them, but there are certain circumstances and things that arise in a community and things that happen that make cash readily available in your hand a better thing than having to go to the bank and try to get it after the fact.
Particularly when it comes to things like program years.
Yes.
Homestead exemption, when that goes up and down, as well as when they were gonna cap the taxes for seniors,
Mhm.
and then that changed a year later.
Yes, it did.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the towns regularly keep contingency funds available in case of legal needs. So if somebody sues the town and you need to have substantial amounts of money for legal, fees, essentially,
Yeah.
town lawyer.
We do see that, although if you're talking about a case that's truly substantial, hopefully your insurance company would be handling quite a bit of those expenditures. I'm not, it depends on what happens, but as far as a payout for a legal proceedings, hopefully you have advance notice of things like that are going to happen. We also are required through our audit process to consult whatever attorneys we see that you've expended money from to make sure that there isn't anything out there that we're supposed to be aware of to disclose in the financial statements.
So you said, just so everyone understands, you said we had 1.5 or 1.6 million July 1, but we don't have any tax revenue coming in until December 1st. So
May
what's that?
Well, December
Well, the
1st.
first payment is coming December 1st, correct?
It did, but next one's May 1st.
Right. But her number was
Yeah.
July. So that's really not a true number per se. Just, I don't want people to think, oh my God, the town of Hartford has 1.6 million in fund balance,
Yeah.
but you really don't because you have an operating.
Yeah.
You have lots of operating.
Yeah.
I don't throw numbers out, but I went through the checking account to see what the lowest it's been in the past year. It was like 900,000 or something.
Okay. I was gonna ask, but I didn't think you would have had that number.
Don't
But
tell
you
me.
had it.
We have had a few discussions concerning what could be necessary to help you guys build a fund balance policy that you're looking for. So Leanne's been right on top of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we're on the right track with what we have drafted so far.
Yeah, I think just being really cognizant of what your goal is for that and making sure that that's what your taxpayers are looking for as well. To make sure that it leads you down the road as well, to make sure you're not borrowing money if that's not what you intend, and to make sure that you are using the right amount to supplement the budget without having fits and starts. That's usually what we see people like to do.
I just feel guilty for the taxpayers when it's building up and their taxes are going up.
Sometimes it's really prudent. I've sat in that chair. So a lot of times when the appropriations would come through and you work so hard to put the budget together and you spend a lot of time and a lot of effort and energy, I'd spend the next 12 months making sure I didn't spend as much of it as possible, which is still fiscally responsible. So things like that are maybe unexpected, maybe extra state revenue sharing. Thank you, state of Maine and tourists that come in that you can't expect. Still making sure that a fund balance policy will, if you have windfalls like that or unexpected increases like that, would tell you appropriately how you want to use it going forward. Yep. And maybe it's for a project, if you had a washout or that there's a large road project coming up, you'd then have your own resources to potentially pay for that instead of borrowing, which is very fiscally responsible.
But it would have to go to town meeting first.
Yes, absolutely. But that the plan would be like, your fund balance policy could say that was first dibs, or long-term projects that you intend for your buildings and maintenance, things like that. A lot of towns gear it towards that they know that it's harder to sock away that money in the long term, but if you happen to have it, it's good to have.
But you only spread it once.
There's that. Yes, that's true. Yep. Long-term capital plans are also usually on the docket after the fund balance policy. I'm not saying that's what you have to do, but they're usually the next up if you have that in mind.
I think that was suggested to you by Christina.
Yep.
She made several
And
suggestions.
Yes.
So I look forward to seeing her suggestions, because I talked to her at length one afternoon when she was here, and she was
Jen?
talking about
Yeah.
the way our payment policy, things we didn't really have in place that she feels we should, so.
Well, you're never going to hear us tell you we don't like policies, but it has to be able to be something that your staff can manage as well. There's a fine line between putting the policies in place to have the proper oversight for things. And then, if there's one person sitting in the office, they can't really look over their own shoulder to do things. So it's kind of difficult. But I think that the more that you put out there as this is how we're going to conduct our business financially so that everybody can see it, that's never a bad thing. So.
Any other questions, concerns, thoughts, anything?
You can just sign this, I'll give it to you.
Oh, thank you. Beautiful. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
If you have questions, you know where to find me. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good night.
Careful this intersection right here, okay? Continue your left.
As a draft here, if anybody wants to look at it, it's not final yet.
Of the policy.
Of the
Audit. Oh, okay. Okay. Next is greater disposition, which I was gonna put on the next agenda, but I guess we can talk about it now, we're doing pretty well on time. So we currently have a grader that needs a lot of work. I'm not sure what it's for.
So there was question whether we could go ahead and sell town equipment, or if it had to be at a town meeting, and it's right in the ordinance that we can do that. So. What we're gonna do, do you wanna put it out to bid? Do you wanna put it for sale?
There's a state list too that, someone had mentioned, that the state of Maine has this website that we can put stuff on, jobs as well as things that we're selling and.
There's two websites, one called Gov Deals,
Duck,
Gov, G-O-V-D-E-A-L.
Yeah.
And then another one called Municipal. So I suggest you maybe do that. And you can put it on there, you know, you have the right to accept or deny any bid, you know, it's gonna have to be approved. Instead of just making it local, you can make it national.
makes it seems like it's a pretty job. Somebody
Well, you-
might have one very great and needs to work. Excellent. If you want me to go find the websites and where we can list it and get back to our next meeting with that information.
They don't pay for it.
Great. So I'll get that from you and I'll get those websites, from Dave, however it's supposed to be spelled. And, I'll see if there's any other sites out there where people are selling used heavy equipment. All right, and I'll get, report back at the next meeting. Sound okay? Sound okay if I get back to everybody at the next meeting? Sound all right, you guys? Okay. Next on the agenda is personnel policy.
So the town or city, whichever it is, of Old Orchard sent me their policies. So just copy and paste it. I sent it to you to proofread, make sure you put Hartford everywhere.
Yeah.
It's in your packet, it's the kind of shaded marks and
I like the way, there's a couple of changes I want to make on it. If you go to page 9. Specifically under State Required Family and Medical Leave Act. It says, because she put in town Hartford, will pay 5% of wages contribution for family and medical leave. Contributions will not be deducted from employee wages. I'd like to see it. The town of Hartford has chosen to pay 5% of the wages. Contributions will not be deducted from employee wages at this time. Because we're small enough that the employees could have to pay it, but we've chosen to take on that responsibility and not put it on them. I don't want to speak for select boards down the road or. Go lady, greatest of all time. We are so proud of you. I'd like to take this moment to recognize Cassie for her great work and huge patience patience for catching that goat. You are greatest of all time.
Go with all my brain power.
How long was that thing on the loose anyway? Going back? to
Months.
last year, is that okay?
September.
So was it, I know, at least up to September, October.
Cassie, I'm sorry to interrupt the meeting by asking, but where is the goat now?
It's in my horse trailer. It's the only safe place I can keep it.
Escape from Alcatraz.
Yes, I don't dare put it out yet. 'cause
I
it's
don't
obviously-
imagine.
It's just being hard to
You
say.
gonna keep it?
I don't know.
No.
I think we have a code ordinance that says that the daughter of the town clerk can't keep that.
Can you have a go to my phone?
You know, you can only have a goat if you can keep it, and that particular goat is very easy to not keep.
Exactly. She wants to be a wild goat.
What's the goat's name?
I've been calling her G.I. Jane.
G.I.
And I saw,
I was saying like.
I saw a Facebook post calling her Priscilla.
Yeah.
Yes, she has a few different names. I don't think that's what her owner calls her.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll bet not.
Me too.
He probably calls her all kinds of stuff.
You're so good. We are incredibly proud of you.
But they do not want her back.
No, they do not want her.
Besides that, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, the sick leave and everything matches our current policy, right?
Yeah, I didn't change.
One day a month, yeah.
I didn't change anything in there, I just added what they had, and I kind of looked at the law, and it coincides with the law, and so.
Yeah.
When we're done, can I have what you wrote, so I can read it?
Absolutely, I'll get straight back to you. And on the holidays, they put them in numerical order, but they put
That didn't change.
Veterans Day, Columbus Day's before Veterans, so.
There's one.
I just was talking. So, but I thought it looked pretty good. It's okay. Why reinvent it again? I'll even write page 9 on the front. You want the whole thing or just page 9?
It's up to you.
I can print another one.
I'll just copy it.
Okay.
Did you type it?
Page 9. I see. Okay, next on the agenda,
So I'll change this and put it on the next agenda, because you haven't approved it.
I would be happy to approve that policy right now with those changes. I would need a second. All in favor? All right, next on the agenda, I just don't want to get too far ahead while she's writing that.
Did we always say one of these? Participation?
I think we're just reviewing them. This one, public meeting participation. How come mine looks so different than yours?
I gave you the old one.
That's the printed one I emailed.
Which one's in your packet?
in your packet.
Should have that. Do you want? I'll have you send it here. I don't want to do it.
Printed my system at work, okay. Did anybody have a chance to read it and have any comments?
Have you always had this?
We've had one, I get one.
This is, it's very similar. Public comment will be allowed during designated times for each agenda item. Speakers must raise their hand,
This is what we
recognized by
have
the
now.
chair.
Do you need the current one?
I just.
Time and limits, 3 minutes. It's all the same.
So it's all the same, but you're making a change. What are the differences between the former and the new policy?
Let's see, disruptions. Any disruptions, including but not limited to shouting, verbal attacks, or other disorderly conduct will not be tolerated. The chair may instruct the disruptive individuals that they can leave the meeting. And I think we got this right from somebody else's policy.
You know, the difference is the protocol for removal from a meeting with disruptive behavior, it defines disruptive behavior.
Defines disruptive behavior. Any behaviors that disrupt the meeting, including loud outbursts, failure to adhere to the rules, or other actions deemed to be disorderly or unreasonable that interfere with the orderly conduct of the meeting, will result in removal.
Failure to follow meetings, that's Amazon.
Here's the other thing too. The chair will issue a warning to any individual engaging in disruptive behavior, outlining the specific action that is not acceptable. If the disruptive behavior continues after the warning, the chair may call for the individual to be removed from the meeting. The individual be escorted from the meeting room, which is what we were doing before.
So I don't think it mentions constable in the meeting, is he not required to be at meetings?
Well, we don't have one right now.
I know, but we
Should
will.
be. In theory, when we do.
I don't think I saw the word constable in the meeting.
We can certainly add that right in there.
No,
Constable if
I was just
available.
asking, if you guys have authority, then you can ask for him.
He'll be great at constable.
Possible in the city.
We changed your job description.
What's that?
We changed her job description for that.
I can yell, but I can't be physical.
Oh,
So
I can
if
have-
you're going to have the constable listed as responsible for keeping the peace at the meeting, that will mean that you will be paying that constable for attending meetings?
We have been,
We get a second.
they get a stipend.
And he didn't do his job.
So, but there are times that constable could be going to a concert. We change our meeting and they already have something else planned, so we'll make sure we've got both our bases covered, but we can, I think it's a great idea to add
But
constable.
it does say, in extreme cases, law enforcement, he's not really law.
No. That's when we call the police anyway, sheriff's department.
Could you put just someone designated by the board or something of that nature, leave it broad?
That way you can use your own map.
Absolutely, yeah, because to me, it should be up to the, the constable either takes it into his or her own hands, or, select person.
It's on your instruction.
Well, you know, Dave's right, if you just say the person who is designated, then you can use private counsels.
I'm just thinking, if when we hire a person, we need to know what the requirements.
Put that in.
Right, yeah.
Description.
No, I already think we should add constable, so I can put that in.
Constable, or I think you should cover both your bases. Constable as well as.
So I watched or viewed several on YouTube,
And is this going to apply to elected officials as well? Because I didn't see that anything happened when some of the elected officials were out of control. We actually, earlier, which needs to be
Anywhere in attendance, really. It should be everybody in attendance.
but do you need that specific language for that to happen?
It says all participants.
I don't think so.
And then that, all participants, I would think would cover everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Maybe all of the participants, officials included, in parentheses, everybody.
Everybody. It's like, it sounded like, was it like, would you, I want to go back. I want to go back.
Who's defining out of control?
Okay, let's revise this and bring it back. Okay, do you want to do that? Kathy, want to do that? You want me to do that? We need to have constable in here when available, and then, even though the select board will still be able to dismiss, and then we want to change.
So why don't we accept it with the changes? And
Look at that.
So you want constable / designated person, or how do you want to word it?
Constable / select board, or?
I would do a designated person, because if you put select board, one of you are gonna have to make them go. So
Yeah,
I
but
would
no.
designated,
Not everyone has the authority to escort somebody here, even though sometimes I think.
Even if they're designated.
So if it's somebody that's not being appropriate,
then just
I
say.
go, hey Dave, will you be my
Yes.
designated person, and walk him out.
Then you constable / law enforcement, and that'll cover both.
Sure enough. Yes, Darryl?
Yeah, I might worry that designating someone
Yeah.
individual, you put liability on that
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
Doing that, I would think that would be a serious problem.
So we just leave it as constable and
And then
if it's, if they don't leave, then we have. Set that.
Second change would be everyone in attendance, and that includes the select board members. Right, all. Oh, yes, elected officials, everyone.
So all participants, including officials.
Yeah,
Non-officials.
Elected officials.
Elected and appointed officials.
I'd like to make a motion with those changes to accept the public meeting participation policy.
Second.
All in favor? Great feedback. Thank you.
So I'll make changes to both of these and then you'll in your favor. Signatures.
Okay. Okay, administrative ordinance part 2. I just wanted another chance to read it through. And I did.
The one thing I almost didn't like on this was,
What page you on?
what page? Second paragraph. Where the road commissioner, if there's a hazard or something happens. A hazard or something is gonna happen.
Like an emergency.
Right, now like on this happened this summer, it was on a weekend, and on Friday evening, I mean, you're not gonna have time to give him a written statement and decide what it's gonna cost to fix this. It's an emergency situation,
Correct.
so,
If it's a quick emergency, if they have time, fine, but
well,
see, a culvert washes out, and it's,
I'm
it's
not,
at
I'm
the
not,
end of the week, but if the
you know,
tree
I'm
comes
not
down.
talking about a tree coming down Crossways Road on Friday evening.
Right.
They're not gonna have time for us to write out a thing and then to get back to us on what the cost is gonna be.
Yes.
Does that mean if the road commissioner doesn't act on the emergency, then they,
What's this section?
it's, 3-6. If the majority of the members of the select board determines that an emergency condition exists.
Are we in exceptions? We got the section.
It's the fourth page.
Just wondering if he doesn't act in an emergency, then. Yeah. My computer.
Really?
I changed it to single side, it won't listen.
Yeah, and I don't think that's actually language directly out of state statute. So I think what that is referring to isn't sort of a tree falls down. I think it's a bigger issue, like the road washes out and it's going to need repair over a longer period of time.
Right.
And the road commissioner doesn't deal with it in a timely fashion, provide the information needed to fix it, then the select board has the ability to essentially put it out to some other contractor. So I don't think it's the tree came down, somebody's got to remove it.
Okay.
Do we need to put something that says, that covers that?
No, he would just send an invoice, he would fill out an invoice or work order and submit it.
And we've already told them it's
We would
emergency.
we would approve that.
Not emergency.
She's talking about the tree order.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that.
That's minor.
Yeah, I think, if I may,
Yeah,
I think there's a level to which in these emergency situations, common sense comes into play. I can't imagine anybody's going to ding any of our elected officials for dealing with an immediate emergency situation.
Right.
You know. So.
Okay. I just wanted to,
Sometimes trees down the residents take care of it.
but,
if a tree comes down on the wires, nobody will be taking care of that, so not us.
Nobody to your sister, really.
All right, I'm ready to make a motion to accept the administrative ordinance part 2.
We need to send it to the lawyer first,
Okay,
and have a public hearing.
so I don't need to make a motion, we just are ready to
Make
send
a
it
motion
to.
to send it to the attorney.
So I'll make a motion that we can send this to the attorney for his, for review.
I'll second.
Favor? Which attorneys does it go to, M&A attorneys?
No.
No, that was just,
Yeah, that's right.
okay.
This is gonna be the only ordinance, right,
For,
for town meeting?
well,
Maybe
Maybe
not.
not.
we hope we might have solar ordinance drafted for.
Great work, thank you very much. All right, we do code of ethics.
I have the current policy, if you want to say the question.
Yeah,
Yeah, one question I guess I have is, since we did not pass the revisions to the building permit ordinance that dealt with LD 2003 language, and the reason we didn't is because there was additional language that turned it into a zoning ordinance. And we still need to have language that deals with LD 2003 for that building permit ordinance, but without the zoning stuff until we've dealt with revising comprehensive.
Right.
So somewhere that ordinance that was turned down should be revised to pull out the zoning component, but potentially keep the language that was done to deal with LD 2003. So if we don't do that, we will still have state statute kicking in, but we won't have anything in our own ordinances that deal with LD 2003.
right now, if we do nothing, it's 3 acres.
It's what?
I said, right now, if we wait, in state statute, it'll go back to our 3 acres, and they could,
Well, it is our 3 acres.
yes.
And it's our 3 acres throughout the whole town. Until we do a if we change the ordinance to include zoning at this point in time, then it includes exactly the zoning that's in the comprehensive plan that we're about to begin revising. So you don't want, in my mind, you don't want to include zoning in that revision at this point. You simply want to include the LD 2003 language that we do have to implement now. So you don't have to turn it into a zoning ordinance. You only have to update it to meet the 2003 requirements. So the 2003 requirements are, you must allow, a second structure on a 3-acre lot and an accessory dwelling. Doesn't say anything about zoning. All properties that have a buildable dwelling capability for a buildable dwelling still have to satisfy 2003, which would allow people.
And it still has to satisfy the code enforcement rules for
So I think
71.
that should be revised before our town meeting with the
that
components
component.
that were added for zoning, meaning some areas could have 8.5 lots. Just that gets pulled out of that completely. At some point, the ordinance or a new ordinance that deals with zoning gets done, but that's down the road after we have a revised comprehensive plan.
So last year's ordinance that we didn't pass, we can,
You should ask us to revise that to include language for LD 2003.
I would like to ask the ordinance committee to revise the previous ordinances that they passed to include what we need for 2003 without the zoning component. Great, all in favor, we send that to ordinance? Yay! Perfect. Okay. Dave?
I just have a suggestion for Daryl, if I may speak to Daryl. I believe in the last year's ordinance, it stated something about that have a well drilled prior to a building permit. I think you ought to look at that, because trying to get a well drilled these days, maybe out 6 to 8 months, and it may delay. So, I mean, you're gonna be able to drill a well anywhere, so I'm just making that statement.
Yeah.
They will get her occupancy permit without having one.
We don't have occupancy permits in the town, so.
Unless our population grows.
Over 2,000.
Really like our kiddo. Okay, let's review code of ethics. Code of ethics for appointed and elected officials. Did you guys have a chance to review?
We have the current one.
One thing I thought of, it says, I know our current one talks about, they can't miss more than 3 meetings in a row. Is that in that one? Yeah. Can't miss more than 3 meetings in a row, is that in the current
That's
policy?
in the ordinance.
That's in the ordinance.
Those unexcused meetings.
Ours the current one.
We're making changes from the previous one. Or was it that people really just follow anything?
This revised one's got, demonstrating professional respectful behavior, making sure the town's primary concern is always forefront, respecting confidentiality,
Accountability for ethical violation.
accountability.
I think the only person we have that doesn't get appointed or elected is the maintenance, right?
Yep.
Okay. So 6 weeks maintenance, he can do what he wants.
Unfortunately, I would really love to see more town employees on committees, but, because that's what MMA tells us on a regular basis. But you do what you want, but we suggest, we run around that, been here for 2.5 years, and I don't know how many times they've said that.
It's good.
Right, but that should probably go in an ordinance if we're gonna make a change. I just think that anyone that's on the committee should attend 50% of the meetings. Yeah.
Which one? Number 3.
10 scheduled meetings, and I'll make every effort to attend all scheduled meetings and will come prepared to participate actively in discussions and decision-making. And I will attend more than 50% of the meetings. That means if it's a monthly meeting 6 times a year.
Do you want to add that?
Otherwise, it looks good.
You want to make a motion to accept it with that change?
I'd like to make a motion to accept this new policy with that change, saying that I'll attend more than 50% of the meetings. Need a
This is
second?
for committee members?
Oh, question, yes.
Does that include, committee members that are on Facebook that slander select board members and whatever? I hope that includes that. They should be on committees if they can't respect the town.
Yeah.
That'd be great. A lot of that going on.
I second that, Leah.
All in favor?
Excuse me, before you move on, in unfinished business, shouldn't the, select board letter for the Hartford News be an item?
I believe it was already sent to you.
You said it was due the 15th, didn't you, or 18th?
I haven't received one, don't you have to approve it at a meeting?
We did separately because we wanted to make sure you had it on time.
I don't think, I haven't seen it. Who'd it come from?
I tried to send one and then Kathy maybe was gonna forward it for me.
To the Hartford News? I looked at that recently, I'll check.
Okay. If not, you can just text me and I'll forward it.
Yeah,
It has been written and
okay. I figured tonight you were gonna approve it, but.
We can do that too.
No.
We were kind of being respectful.
Whatever works for you.
it is written, there's a hard copy somewhere.
I'm just gonna double check. Carry on.
You got it?
No, I'm checking.
All right. Okay. Next on the list is dumpsters. Do you want to start? So, after Archie's came to our meeting and talked about dumpsters, we did some research. Dave did quite a bit of research. We've been having ongoing challenges with dumpsters up there. Some up here, I'm sure came and talked about how they have a process, and I talked about the dumpster on Garden Drive, but instead of eliminating all the dumpsters, we wanted more information. And so, that's what we've been doing, is we've got pictures, we've been checking on the dumpsters, checking on the areas. One of the very disappointing things is that in every dumpster, there are things that shouldn't be there this week. Every single dumpster. We have full boxes, not even broken down, taking up room in a dumpster that should be recycled. We've got bagged Christmas trees in the dumpster when they can definitely be composted. We have, right, for a goat. I'm pretty sure we put something out there saying she didn't want to take Christmas trees, did you?
I don't believe I did, but quite a few people had,
I saw some.
who keep, Christmas tree.
There's a pallet in this dumpster. Over here, we've got a new piece of lawn ornament that just arrived at Labrador Pond. They now have a stove, a refrigerator, and it just got dropped off
Yeah, I think
in a bunch of pallets. I'm not sure which dumpster this is, but it goes slew of boxes, not recycled, just
West
sitting here.
Cove,
West Coast.
it's full of IKEA boxes.
Somebody's getting these in, Jim.
A lot of them.
I saw some right down here in the corner, huge boxes, just totally, not broken down.
IKEA ones?
I don't know.
West Cove was that. Last week and this week.
And I have a feeling it's because, as you mentioned, it's so close to 219, people drive by and they're like, ooh, this is a great place. No houses, nobody watching it.
Last week, the only recycling, besides Pine Shores Recycling Shed, was one bin at West Cove.
We put ours, well, me and one other person, as far as I know, put ours on Berry Road at a neighbor's house. We asked them to put it out there. And then we take it in, then we put it out because we haven't had pickup for this past week. Here's another one with just loaded, overflowing.
So does our teams just, they don't care what's in them, they just dump them?
Correct. They do not post them up. So whether it's like blocks, Christmas trees, lattice,
Automatic process, and it's used to tipping.
And from my understanding, everything is supposed to be in a garbage bag. This is household waste, whatever you put out during the summertime, if you've got a dumpster in the winter, it still has to go in a bag. So I see a cake pan, a pallet, fencing, they should break it down and put it in a bag, everything's supposed to be in a bag.
So when Pine Shores, some representative from Pine Shores came at the meeting a couple weeks ago, whenever, or back in December, they said they monitor it. I mean, last week, I sent you pictures of the recycling shed, and
Yeah,
it was crazy.
yeah.
But the recycling hadn't been picked up since before Christmas.
But still, there was no need of,
What they put in it.
Archie's did pick it up, because I went back and checked. and I was totally surprised. But today's dumpster there, it was
I had a picture,
200
a
amp,
bunch of wires in it.
200 amp electrical wire, lots of electrical outlets and switch boxes.
It sounds commercial, not residential.
Exactly.
So do they have signs on them, household garbage only or anything?
They did put a sign up over there, smiling or in camera, but I don't think there's a camera.
Do people know it's just for household garbage?
Oh, yes.
You should by now.
Right.
Now,
Talking about it for years.
that gives the ant box.
Some of the area residents.
Okay, too.
So I did check, I do not have a select board letter.
We will get that right over to you. We had it.
Thank you. We'll have it before you go to bed.
It's HARTFD news.
Say
HARTFD news at Megaway.
RT.
Some people
FD.
take deputy.
Our readers set it up with the things about it. HARTFD news. At-
But yeah, I wonder what the difference is. I must pay them for them to be there and for them to go around collecting the trash.
Well, remember Alan came to the meeting and he said it would be more labor or trucking, and we already have a contract.
There's nothing in the contract that says anything about any dumpsters in the town of Hartford.
That's right. There wasn't a price list for dumpsters?
No. It says curbside pickup in the contract.
Also, there's a dumpster on a road close by that really is getting a bill to rent the dumpster, and they're also getting tipping fees.
I
And,
wanna see that bill.
and
Right. So
it's picked up and dumped into the regular trash every week.
Archie's told me specifically that the private dumpsters are dumped every 2 weeks, and that is used to subsidize our waste, our contract. But it doesn't state anything in the contract about that. So, and then you're telling me, I think the board should contact everyone that is paying for a private dumpster and find out if they're actually paying the tipping fee, because
Yeah.
the town of Hartford is paying the tipping fee every 2 weeks.
Tell them to copy the invoice.
That's right.
And
I spoke to a resident as well, and she pays her dumpster fee rental, and she pays for her tipping fee.
We need copies,
And-
so we can
Okay,
go to Archie's and say, look,
okay,
this is unacceptable.
okay.
You're double dipping, you're charging
She
the
was
residents.
told specifically that Hartford does not need her tipping fee, but I don't know how it can't if it's going in the same truck.
It is. Or the town of Hartford is paying it.
That just doesn't
All
make any
private
sense to me.
dumpsters.
So I have a question of, are you aware that Archie's has been sold and is being management?
Yes.
Lizard, or is it another one?
It's his partner.
Well,
What's that?
I heard it's sold again.
and she said now it's someone in New York, but I
In
don't
New
know.
York.
I was told it was J&J.
they haven't notified the town office.
And there's a brand new dumpsters there. Because I went to our Mexico store the other day, and there's a bunch of brand new brown dumpsters that
It's
just
been acquired.
delivered.
So there's obviously a problem about private dumpsters. That's number one priority, I think. Get that straightened out, find out, and put an end to it. You know, just tell Archie, we're not paying for it, they're charging you. And that's my opinion, but speaking personally, not as a member of the committee. And then try to come up with a solution for the dumpsters that the town is actually paying for. Because there's lots of abuse, and I will continue monitoring and send you pictures so that you have proof, and you can see it on a weekly basis.
Oh, yeah.
So when someone comes here and says, we're not, we don't use it, we're watching it. Well, look, these are the pictures on Monday or Tuesday, the 21st.
And, oftentimes I can tell that we.
Hold on, Kathleen has her hand up, please. Yes, Kathleen.
Suggestion, why don't they pick up dumpsters on a different day? Do trash pickup that's in the bags, do dumpsters on a different day. The ones that are personal, private, those should be separate
Well, we
than
mentioned
the
that.
town ones. They should pick those up on a different day so they don't get mixed in with our trash. If they're paying tipping fees for it, it should be done separately on a different day.
I think if the individuals were paying.
Well, I know there's a business on Town Farm Road, the metal business, and he's got a big dumpster. And it wasn't on that list.
He pays for his.
Right. But when does he pick that up?
It's put in with our trash and we get charged the total.
We don't know yet, so.
So we get a phone calls. Yes, we know.
But he is coming a different day to pick that one up, maybe he could pick up on Wednesday. But we do have to, I have to tell you, I got a hold of him last week, and that's after I called and called and called. Other people who had posted on Facebook when I asked what roads were not picked up again for recycling and some trash issues. No one's been picking up that phone at Archie's. I mean, I called for 2 days in a row, it just rang like it was off the hook. And then I went to their contact us on the website to info@archiesinc.com, sent a pretty scathing email, which I copied you guys on, have yet to get an answer. And my conversation with Leanne is that the office person wants us to communicate by that email. Well, that's obviously not gonna work if they don't communicate back. So. And in the meantime, we might need an ad hoc committee to get the information together this upcoming year, so that when we do have to do another bid for waste, that we're actually getting the information that contractors want, because we couldn't really give them households and mileage, and they wanted that. I would think that that's really pertinent to a bid. So, and if people are gonna keep dumpsters, but none of that was in the bid process, so it's something this year we'll need to put together ad hoc, so we're ready when the time comes. Is it a 2-year contract or 3?
To additional year of option.
So I'm wondering if
We got 2 questions actually.
we're bound by that contract if services aren't being rendered, or?
Actually, in the contract, I don't have my glasses on, but it does specify that, section 12, if you will, that the contract states, if it sells, that the contract's null and void without your signature to transfer that over to the new owner.
So they have the right to honor it, but we're not bound by it.
Correct.
It sounds like it might be 2 owners. I mean, just since we did the contract. So I heard it was
Could be.
Lizard, and then I heard again, someone bought it from
Well,
Lizard.
what is Lizard?
Pardon me?
What is Lizard?
It's a waste company, I think out of Waterville or something. So, yes,
And one other thing that came up in the solid waste committee was the actual dumpsters themselves. I understand that some dumpsters are placed in the wintertime for necessity, for necessity. And some are there just for convenience, for maybe the taxpayers, or convenience maybe for Archie's, whatever. But they're all located in spots that are hard to get to, right?
some of them are.
Except for what seems to be, we have one down here. Do we pick up trash at the intersection down here? Because the town's paying for a dumpster right at the intersection of 219 and 140. And I really don't know why, yeah.
Yeah, we're not paying for that.
What name it is?
Oh, perfect, okay, thank you. I thought that was on the list.
No,
It's on the list, but it's not orange.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Yeah, do we pay the tipping fee for that?
No.
We'll have to look, if it gets picked up on a Tuesday. We should check all of them. We check, the one up on Town Farm,
Yeah,
the one up on Gurney Hill, the one on 219, 140. There's 3 that I know of. Dave, do you know of any more than that that might be commercial-ish?
There's a list. Leanne has a list, right?
It's Ben's Garage, Marjorie,
Adams Road.
well, she pays for her dumpster.
But she's not commercial-ish.
But if she's paying for tipping, then they're double dipping there. So we need to talk to every single one of them on that list.
Can't put Keeler on that list?
but we need to see proof.
but what, Ken?
Is Camp Wakila on the list?
I'm sure they take care of them. This is the list you gave me. You
Yeah,
said,
that's what he gave me.
I don't see Town Farm or the business.
Why don't you hand that over to the waste committee and let us handle it?
It's not very clear.
We're meeting tomorrow.
It
That's-
doesn't, it
this
seems
is
like,
like clear.
this is like the only one we got, so this is for a copy.
On top of that, probably an iron tire waste.
Give us some more.
Well, actually, okay.
You got the original and I highlighted the ones that are highlighted on yours.
Yeah.
But it's not super clear because the Rams pay for their dumpster, so it's highlighted.
Right, so I think contacting each one of the dumpster people that have them and verify that that's what's happening. So, as many other taxpayers have noticed, the inconsistency with the, recycling truck breaking down on a regular basis, and they bring a big white box truck out, and then they don't come at all, and they only work a couple hours because it's cold, which was what he said last week, is, well, we had to take 2 runs as it was so full, and I said, well, that's because you didn't pick up 2 weeks before,
No, it's just people like those huge boxes out there, I saw them.
Christmas and stuff, you know, you didn't pick up the day before, the week after Christmas. So people had all the Christmas boxes and the previous 2 weeks, and then, yeah. And then he ended up coming, doing half the route, and then the other half the next day, last week.
Yeah, they had a box truck, a short box.
Yeah. But the hard part is that I use a neighbor's house to put my recycling out. And they don't want it sitting there in their driveway, so when I come home from work, they didn't take it, I pick it back up and put it back. And then sometimes I put it back the next day, but then I feel really bad, especially if it's snowing or bad weather, it's sitting in somebody else's driveway. So it's frustrating, because I live on a hill, you can't put it there by the end of Garden Drive.
So does that mean everyone on Garden Drive doesn't recycle except 1 or 2 people?
Probably just 1 or 2 people.
Most dumpster people don't.
But I can, in the summer they all do,
Because
because,
dumpster, our taxes can't keep absorbing
absolutely.
all of this.
But I can feel the frustration, because you put it out, you take it in, and they don't pick it up, they don't pick it up. And I'm not sure what's wrong with Berry Road, but they seem to miss it a lot. It's a pretty good sized road. And they don't have to go down the camp roads, we bring it to the main road. Or I am, but I do have a call into my friend hoping that he might figure a couple of bigger containers that we can put them in. But still, that dumpster's on private property. Having 30 recycling bins is not gonna work, especially if people leave them there.
So the shed like kind of listed.
Well, we gotta get a group together and come up with a plan and permission from property owner to do it. Make sure we're not gonna get taxed for a shed and all that jazz. Yes, David?
So, I know Leah said this in the past, garbage is one thing that everyone has control over as far as the budget goes. That's pretty much the only one thing, and people need to take some responsibility and realize that.
Right, yeah. Lenny, did you say that you guys have a recycling story in the upcoming newsletter? Excellent.
We do, and it's also involves composting, which is a form of recycling.
Sure
It's
is.
food waste.
Food's heavy.
Well, and it's not even just food, but it is no excuse for reuse and, organic matter. I mean, you just shouldn't be going into the dumpster.
Or trash bags.
Or trash bags.
Yes.
So would the board like the waste committee to research that?
That would be terrific. I would like to come up with a sign that goes to the, I might get a sign that goes out to the, and I'll make it and laminate it, just reminding people how important it is to recycle. I could put a magnet on it and put it on the dumpsters. I know that some of them are on private property, but at least the ones that are out for winter, if we can figure out a way to get those people to recycle in place for them to put it. Right now, the recycling truck is with them.
I think that's part of the problem as a member of the pond dumpster is, and there's really not a lot of recycling that goes on. Not just maybe. A lot of times you know who it is or putting these boxes in uncollapsed because it still has their shipping label on it. You don't know, stick them on your doorstep. In my spare time.
The last 2 weeks.
In my spare time, I've never felt, even on the select board, I've never felt it was authorized to do that.
I almost stopped at the corner to break those boxes down, I was late for work.
Well, the day after they picked up, we're supposed to pick up recycling, which was New Year's Eve. It was snowing New Year's Day. They'd come, only done part of the day, part of the roads. They did the town office, they did several, but they left like 2 sets right here on Main Street. They had to drive right off. So how did they get the town recycling, but not hit 2 houses right here?
Well, that's why, several times before and after work, I go around and take pictures to make sure it is out. And there's no reason why they wouldn't pick it up.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes people just put their stuff late after.
Right.
Truck is great.
Yeah.
That does happen.
Absolutely. It's not a perfect scenario, but at least we're getting better ideas. So, that would be great if you guys would do that. Okay. New business, hall use benefit dinner. So Dina would, Toma, is that how it's pronounced? Yeah, and Kathy.
Well, Nikki's, I put the insurance on.
So you're hosting, you're co-hosting.
Well, Dina's, you said Dina's not involved.
Yeah, being the.
Let's talk about the
Upcoming,
That's gonna be on Sunday, the 26th.
is it Sunday the 26th? From 12 to 4? 12 to 3.
Narrow window of what? 26th of this month is Sunday.
So, I'd like to make a motion that we not charge for this fundraiser. And I understand the insurance will be covered by the co-host, Kathy. Yeah.
I second it.
All in favor? Great. Okay, Laura Fogg Irish Trust donations, we had 300. So we had another 3?
Well, one check was returned and it was I think I copied this one. It was suggested that it be donated to a different person, a different resident. I think there's a copy. So I contacted the Laura Falls Irish trustees and they agreed on 3 new donations. And I voided that.
But did it say on the agenda 3? Was it 3? Okay.
Wow,
It's nice.
that's very nice. Just a lot of people pay it forward, and that is awesome.
That's very sweet.
Do we have to make a motion to do that?
If you want to approve these 3, I would mention the meetings.
No? I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Laura Fogg Irish trustees, donations for the 3 families. All in favor?
And $300 each.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. All right, employment applications, we did receive a couple, and we'd like to get those scheduled. We received one for maintenance and constable, right? And,
Is that considered one job?
I think they'd like to be considered for both.
Oh, one?
And then one is for
Health officer?
Yep.
I thought one was constable, one was maintenance.
I think the one will run both.
I haven't looked at them. It's confidential.
This one is looking at both positions as I thought. And this one's maintenance.
So we could date on the calendar to interview.
Yep. So, do we want to do that, try to do it early in the morning or late in the day, or do we want to contact them and see what their availability is first?
Well, if you two meet together, it has to be executive session, we have to call a meeting,
All right.
unless just one of you are.
Right, which would be cool anyway. So when do we get together next?
February 4th.
And do we have executive session before that?
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's what I mean, we don't have anything scheduled, right? So can we try to set up the interviews for, before that meeting?
You wanna make that one? All right,
Do we have any other meetings between now and then?
not yet. And are you gonna have an interview before the meeting and then hire them during that meeting, or?
Probably not.
So it's gonna be another 2 weeks, so it's gonna be
Okay.
a month.
So you guys want to do it, yeah,
Each Saturday's probably be best for them,
what's that?
they're working Saturdays.
Or I was thinking 5 or 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah, could be too. Yeah. Either.
Okay, why don't we try to do it next week?
What day?
Want to do, Tuesday night,
The road committee meeting at 6.
on Tuesday? 6.
We could always meet in the kitchen if you guys wanted to have out here.
It's confidential.
Why couldn't we meet in the office?
We could.
If you rate and plan on it.
That's right.
What other day did you say?
Monday and Wednesday,
Monday's good.
this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Wednesday?
The 29th.
You do Wednesday, 29th? Okay, so Wednesday, 29th,
What time do you wanna start?
5. Like 5 to, we'll get it to it, they can do it, so. Want to do an hour? You want to do a half hour?
There's nothing else going on, so I think a half hour per person would be good. What do you think?
Probably it should be. Half an hour should be all right.
Hope so. Someone's waiting.
Should be done that before.
I forgot what day you said, 29th?
Wednesday.
Yeah, those two.
And if they can't go as early as 5, because they got something else and make it fun. Cool.
You wanna check references before, or until after, or? I don't know, what you can,
Well, that's a great idea, but we also, before we make any offers, I want to make sure we do a background check and everything. And I believe we have to ask them.
right, so I think I mentioned it already, but I would just sign something.
Yep. You want to hand that back to her, please? Excellent. Appointments and resignations, I think we have a appointment for our comprehensive plan. So I'd like to nominate Lee Holman on the comprehensive planning committee.
Just, you don't nominate me, just, you just appoint.
Well, we'd like to appoint you.
Okay.
Yes,
Because I've already been on.
Great. All in favor? Awesome. Are there any other appointments or resignations that anyone's aware of? Great. Lee, before you go, you sign this, please. Thank you. All right, training. Is there any training? I know you guys signed up for the first week of February, isn't it? Leanne. Jamie, is there anything else? Great. Okay, any new correspondence?
Who's you?
I don't know if you saw this or not. So I put it in your packet?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question on the letter, should I? Do we know if this resident lives on that road, on Gurney Hill Road, that dumps the trash? Because
You don't have the numbers? That's what she's asking.
oh, I'm asking, there's trash at the resident dumped their trash beside Gurney Hill Road several weeks ago. And it's still there, animals have strewn the garbage along the side of Gurney Hill Road. I'm just wondering if it's,
They just avoided salt shed.
is it a current resident?
It's just this side of the salt shed on the same side of the street, because I walked up there the other day with a couple of friends, and we had our dogs, and the dogs were, well, very interested in trash that was all in the snow.
And there's no house there.
There's a driveway.
Oh, there is a driveway.
The road, it's the road.
Yeah, there's people who live there.
Why not when the animals get into mine?
And
I'm the person that,
but sure,
yeah.
you know, that's funny how people are, you know, once they see it out, it's starting to go in the trash, then they kind of think they don't own it anymore.
So is the trash, do we know, at that driveway and the animals?
It is at the front.
It is at that driveway. Can we send a letter to the homeowner, to pick up your trash? Please?
So what do you do?
Just reading the ordinance.
I don't think Archie's goes up there. I think
He does go up to June.
There is a dumpster all the way at the top.
He goes to June home, all the way to the end.
every other week.
So the resident probably thinks that he was gonna get it collected right at his doorstep. And he
Right.
could put it down on the corner. But he sees the trash go to June Holland, so he thinks he's gonna get it.
So it says this ordinance shall be
But he's not
administered by the board of selectmen
the more than.
and duly appointed agents.
That's
Hold
what-
on, we're trying to read ordinance.
It shall be the duty of the code enforcement officers to enforce the provisions of this ordinance and the solid waste regulations.
So letter needs to come from code enforcement.
If the code enforcement officer finds any provision of this ordinance or the solid waste rules and regulations has been violated, he or she shall notify the board of selectmen, issue a notice of violation, issue an order to correct violation if ongoing, and impose fines, 25 for the first, 50 for the second, 100 for each
So it should be stopped.
Yeah, but it could be that they, like was just mentioned, that they don't know that the trash truck only goes up there every other week.
So it can be just a warning by the ACO.
Yeah.
CEO, that's CEO.
But you would imagine that they might not know, but unless the place has changed hands, or they lived there for, ever, I mean, they'll walk on.
Is there any way before the CEO gets involved that a letter can come from the town that it seems that an ordinance states that and you have stuff on your lawn, you kindly pick it up? And then if they do not reply, respond to them.
Well, most lessons learned, it needs to go in a receptacle, and obviously, it wasn't in a receptacle, just a trash bag out there.
And the other sister.
Yeah.
So, and then if they do not reply to a kind reminder, then a complaint would need to be filed and the CEO would need to take that over.
Yeah, we're just looking to see if it covers trash into your doors, I don't know.
A friendly letter from the town,
But it is.
reminding them of what's going on as far as pickup would be necessary. Please.
So normally they pick up at the corner, so he needs to bring it to the corner.
So now with the trash, he just brings it at the road.
Even way up, because they're making it.
No, down to 219.
It's already.
Right. To me, he just brings it down to 219, because they pick up all along there. This trash can there today. As it came up, so.
I guess it's next meeting.
I also want to address the audio issue. Is there any way we can get our guy back up here for a meeting? So he can see what's going on or why?
Is it working?
Oh, is it worth getting text saying that, is anyone getting a text saying that they can't hear us?
Well, I was on the judges, so.
I didn't get messages from some judges.
Usually they text us, that's for sure. Have you got any? There you go.
I'd say just review this tomorrow, see if they go from there, because, yeah, usually people will text.
Right.
Probably will.
Does it say how many people are watching?
Yeah, somebody just mentioned that they is looking on and asking some questions, but they haven't said that they can't hear, so I'm assuming.
Excellent. Let's knock on wood, everybody. It's working right now.
It's not that we couldn't hear, we couldn't understand.
Couldn't understand. It is the acoustics in here are terrible. We were hoping if we put, I think last week we had some papers shuffled and stuff got covered. So we're hoping it's better this week.
The first speaker was very loud. He was understood perfectly.
Up there.
Right.
There's a little mic right there.
Maybe
I
you
heard
should
every
see.
word.
Smart kids.
I said, have you quit your shirt?
Well, he said to have wireless lines would be a lot more money than,
Right,
and I don't like,
yes.
You gotta work that up too.
It's funny how new technology is such a challenge. But we will monitor it and,
Probably work that.
and, when Leanne listens to the tape, we haven't got any complaints. So, but we will continue to monitor it because it's got to work. We put great money into getting this and it needs to work right, consistently. Okay, agenda items for next meeting. So we're gonna go back to greater stuff, because I'm gonna find out where we can list it.
Sometime within the next month or two, I'd like to we get started on the Pratt Hill.
Yeah, February 4th, we want to do that. And, notify the, road committee that, we want to get planning on that, the next phase of that. Is there anything you want to see? Oh, interview stuff. Results. Hopefully,
So you are making a decision?
well, we're not meeting, remember, we're meeting next week.
Yeah.
So we might want to put that on if there's somebody,
Yeah, we decide.
we'll know beforehand, like, oh my God. We want to hire them now or not.
Fund balance policy. February.
There's really no reason to wait, is there? Is there a need to wait? Do we want any other advice? We've got everything we need.
I'll go to the IRA website, and she said there's a bunch of samples there. I just don't know how much you want to save. You want to know the percentage of our tax commitment, or? Do I have any restrictions on use?
Yeah, I'll put on there and get, it'll take 2 weeks, so we'll get over it.
And do you want, did you put down for some reason?
The solid waste committee is gonna be, looking at it. I'm gonna find out, I think from Archie's, if I can get someone to talk to me, who has the contract now. Whether it's Wizard or New York Company or. Yeah,
We can always take it.
What if the presidential comes at like, he's over business?
Yeah.
Can I add solid waste policy, because we changed the rules about tires and things, we didn't have to do with that policy.
Yes.
Make it
Yep.
up to you.
I know, we'll have to announce that out there too, the cost of tires are just gonna pass through costs. I know people are gonna be in shock, but there's no reason why we should be funding their tires.
Well, everything's done, so it should be too much of a surprise.
All right. Open session, anyone have anything they'd like to share, talk about? Can I that?
Could you add FEMA to the next agenda? Where do we stand? Farmington in the local paper received all the FEMA money for the last 3 years. They've been awarded it by the federal government and the state. Where do we stand? You probably can't answer that today, but if it's on next week's, 2 weeks from now, those answers I've been asking for over a year. Maybe you get those answers.
Can I just say that I signed off on a bunch today, signed off on one with NEMA. They wanted me to sign off, even the road work was not done. And I asked them, and I said, we signing this work, I was under the understanding that you don't get any money until work is done.
Right.
They said, no, you sign it, even if there's a little bit of work left to do, you still sign this. I said, okay. $501,000, send it on.
Amounts, when, that kind of thing, would be nice to know.
How much did you say?
501,000.
That's if we get 100%, right?
Right. The state, they pay 75%.